Imagine standing at the edge of the world, but the world as you know it has already ended. It is the year 550 AD. The great Roman Empire of the West is a memory, its marble forums overgrown with weeds, and its statues toppled by Goths and Vandals. Most people in this era are just trying to survive the week. But here, on the shores of the Bosphorus, something impossible is happening. You aren't looking at ruins. You are looking at the largest construction site in human history. This is the story of a city that should not exist. It survived a riot that burned it to the ground, a plague that killed half its people, and an emperor who was told his dreams were physically impossible. Today, we aren't just looking at history through a glass case. We are walking through the dust, the gold, and the blood of 550 AD to understand how they built the future while the rest of the world was falling into the dark. If you stood in the center of Constantinople in 550 AD, the first thing that would hit you isn't the majesty, it's the noise. The air is thick with the rhythmic clinking of thousands of chisels against Proconnesian marble. This isn't the quiet, dignified antiquity we see in museums. This is a city under extreme pressure. To understand why this place matters, we have to look at what happened just 18 years earlier. In 532 AD, this entire capital was a charcoal pit. A massive riot, the Nika revolts, had spiraled out of control. The people didn't just want lower taxes, they wanted the Emperor Justinian's head. By the time the smoke cleared, 30,000 citizens lay dead in the hippodrome, and the great churches and forums were nothing but ash. Any other leader would have fled. Any other empire would have collapsed. But Justinian looked at the smoking ruins and saw a blank canvas. He didn't just want to rebuild, he wanted to prove that the Roman spirit was divine. He decided to build a church so large that it would defy the laws of physics. They called it the Hagia Sophia. In 550 AD, as you walked past it, the building is relatively new, but it's already a legend. People whispered that it wasn't built by men, but by angels, because no human architect could make a dome that large stay in the air. But it wasn't angels. It was a massive mobilization of the world's remaining knowledge. Justinian hired a physicist and a mathematician, not traditional architects, because he needed people who understood the geometry of the impossible. They used bricks so light they were said to float in water, and they imported purple porphyry from Egypt and green marble from Greece. Walking through the doors in 550 AD, you wouldn't see the dark, atmospheric mosque or museum of the modern era. You would see a space flooded with light, reflecting off 4 acres of gold mosaic. It was a psychological weapon. It told every visitor, Rome is not dead. Rome is just getting started. But how do you feed and water 1 million people in a city that's constantly under siege? This is where the reconstruction gets truly genius. Beneath your feet as you walk the Messe, the main street of the city, is a second, hidden city of water. In 550 AD, the Basilica Cistern was the pinnacle of engineering. Imagine a subterranean cathedral supported by 336 marble columns salvaged from pagan temples across the empire. It could hold 80,000 cubic meters of water. While the rest of Europe was drinking from muddy streams, the people of 550 AD were walking over a massive man-made lake that kept them alive through droughts and wars. This was the shouldn't exist part. The logistics of moving that much water from forests miles away, through massive aqueducts, and into these underground vaults was a feat the world wouldn't see again for 1,000 years. But life in 550 AD wasn't all gold mosaics and engineering marvels. There was a shadow hanging over every conversation in the marketplace. Just a few years before our walk, the invisible enemy arrived, the bubonic plague. History books often focus on the Black Death of the 1300s, But the plague of Justinian in the mid-6th century was arguably more world-shattering. At its peak, 10,000 people were dying in this city every single day. The graveyards overflowed. They had to strip the roofs off the wall towers and fill them with corpses until the stench reached the ships out at sea. By 550 AD, the city is in a state of post-traumatic recovery. The population has been decimated. You'd see abandoned houses right next to brand new palaces. You'd see the emperor himself, Justinian, a man who survived the plague but was forever changed by it. He became a ghost in his own palace, working through the night, obsessively rewriting the laws of the empire. This is the year he is trying to hold the world together with sheer willpower. He sent his greatest general, Belisarius, to reconquer Italy and Africa, trying to stitch the old Roman borders back together. But the cost was staggering. As you walk toward the harbor of Julian, you see the ships coming in. They aren't just carrying grain, they are carrying the loot of a conquered West. Silver from Carthage, statues from Rome. It looks like a triumph, but if you look closer at the faces of the sailors, you see the exhaustion. The empire was overextending itself. To rebuild a city that shouldn't exist, Justinian was banqueting the future. Let's talk about the culture of the streets. If you think modern sports fans are intense, they have nothing on the 6th century blues and greens. These weren't just chariot racing teams, they were political factions, social movements, and sometimes street gangs. Walking past the hippodrome, you'd hear the roar of 60,000 people. The colors you wore, blue or green, determined who you traded with, who you married, and whether you'd survive a night out in the city. Even in 550 AD, with the threat of the Persians to the east and the Goths to the west, the citizens were more likely to brawl over a chariot race than a foreign invasion. It was a city of extreme contrasts, the highest philosophy and the most brutal street violence, the highest churches and the most corrupt bureaucracies. One of the most fascinating places to stop in 550 AD would be the silk workshops. For centuries, the secret of silk was guarded by China under pain of death. But right around this time, legend has it that 2 monks smuggled silkworm eggs out of the east, hidden inside hollowed-out walking sticks. By 550 AD, the Mediterranean world was no longer dependent on the Silk Road. They were starting their own industry. This city wasn't just rebuilding the past, it was stealing the technology of the future. It was a hub of global trade, where you could buy Indian spices, British tin, and Chinese-style silk, all in the same square. Yet the tragedy of 550 AD is that it was a golden age built on a cliff's edge. The climate was cooling. A little ice age had begun, likely triggered by volcanic eruptions, leading to crop failures and further famine. The sky often had a bluish tint, and the sun lacked its warmth. You would feel this chill as you walked through the Forum of Constantine. There was a sense that the lights were being turned on one last time before a very long night. The city shouldn't have existed because the world it belonged to was already gone. Justinian was trying to be a Roman emperor in an age that was becoming something else entirely, the Middle Ages. As the sun sets over the Golden Horn in our journey, we see the true legacy of this period. The city of 550 AD didn't just survive, it became a vault for human knowledge. While libraries were being burned elsewhere, the scholars here were copying the works of Plato, Aristotle, and the Roman law codes. If this city hadn't been rebuilt against all odds, the Renaissance might never have happened. The blueprints of Western civilization were kept behind these massive Theodosian walls, which in 550 AD were the most formidable fortifications ever built. They were 3-layered, 60 feet high, and surrounded by a moat. They were designed to ensure that even if the rest of the world fell, this impossible city would stand. And it did. It stood for another 900 years. Walking through 550 AD teaches us something about the human spirit. It shows us that even in the wake of a pandemic, even after a total social collapse, And even when the climate itself turns against us, we have a relentless drive to build something beautiful. We have a drive to look at ruins and see a foundation. Justinian's city was a massive gamble, a project of ego and faith that nearly broke the empire, but it created a beacon that lit the way through the Dark Ages. If you found this journey through the dust and gold of the 6th century fascinating, there is so much more to uncover about the hidden corners of history. We're deep diving into the stories that time forgot, from lost cities to the engineering secrets of the ancient world. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next walk through time. What part of the 6th century surprised you the most? Was it the secret silk trade or the underground cities of water? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next era.